Welcome to the American Diversity Report podcasts, where we interview innovative change makers and creative people making a difference in this world. I'm Deborah Levine, editor of the American Diversity Report and your host, and with me today is Tonya Todd. She is a Las Vegas author, actress, and activist, invested in fair representation. Her continued involvement in the literary, theater, and filmmaking communities provides a platform to champion marginalized artists and contributes towards an environment that embraces a variety of voices. Welcome, Tonya.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you very much for having me.
A true pleasure. You have quite a busy world there for yourself.
Yes, I do.
I love it. I love it. Tell us how you got involved in all of this.
Well, I started out as an author. I wasn't an actress yet. I wasn't involved with any of that, and I wasn't trying to champion any particular cause. But I found that when I was querying my work, I was running into some roadblocks. Things like, if I did not say that I was a woman of color, then they accused me of not being the right person to write the story. Or if I did say it, they said my voice wasn't Black enough, or my characters' voices weren't Black enough, or we already have a Black author on our list. Just a lot of, I know that many of them didn't realize what they were saying was minimizing, but it really was. And it's like, it was never my objective to get involved with this, but I found that I couldn't escape it. I wasn't able to just query like any other person without any regard to my race or my sexuality. So I decided, all right, what can I do about this? So I started studying it, and I ended up joining a writing group that was completely separate from this cause. It was more about refining my craft, but in doing so, I wound up volunteering for them, and I became the education chair. Well, as the education chair, it's my job to provide education. And people were coming to me asking for assistance. Like, what do I do in this situation? I want to include a person of color in my story, but I don't want to use stereotypes. How do I do it while honoring the people I'm trying to represent and not trying to steal from anyone's culture at the same time? I want to include people, but I don't know how to do it without being offensive. And so from there, I worked with some very amazing people and ended up putting on a 5-hour workshop for free in conjunction with a local coffee shop. They did the catering, Grouchy John's Coffee. We had the LGBTQ Center. They donated the space for us to do it. Henderson Writers Group. We brought in all of these amazing people, and we were able to do this 5-hour workshop for free so that people could come in and do a Q&A with a panel, do some exercises, and ultimately try to get through that fear that they were having. And it was a huge success, and because of it, I was invited to start teaching it at conferences. Now, it's not a 5-hour workshop at conferences. It's just, it's usually just an hour or two, depending on what their formatting is. But that's how it all started. I was just trying to write and put my work out in the world.
Love it. So it happened while you were just living, and there
Yes.
you are. I know that.
I wasn't aware that there was so much of a challenge for people who were not straight white artists. I didn't know this as just a consumer of art. But once I started entering the world, and I realized that, yeah, there are a lot of roadblocks that people don't realize, because in media, and especially in writing, the characters are assumed to be straight and white until further notice, until otherwise stated. And that's a prejudice that we all have to get over.
Understand. Oh, very much so. Thank you for all you do. And we started on one of your questions, which is, about fair representation. Tell us a little bit more about why this is so important.
There have been generations of children who didn't get to see themselves as the protagonist in stories. So it can be kind of mentally and emotionally crushing to never see yourself portrayed as a hero in a story. What that does is it tells children and really ingrains it in them into adulthood that not only do they not matter, but they are merely here to serve those who do. And it's a subtle form of brainwashing that, intentional or unintentional, it happens. If you don't see yourself as the main protagonist, you assume that you're not ever supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. So here you are doing this kind of education, and you have experienced it yourself for sure in your life and your career. And being biracial has been both a plus and a minus, I guess.
Yes, definitely. It's great that I'm able to see things from multiple perspectives. Yeah, I don't just go into it with blinders on and one mindset, but more roles as an actor, more roles are being called for an ethnically ambiguous look.
That's
However, because I can't really pass for black and white in the way that I look, most casting directors, they just can't see how to fit me into an existing family
oh,
because they think, oh, well, she doesn't match any of these people. Well, I don't match my own family either, but I'm still part of their family.
oh, so what kind of roles have you ended up with?
Supernatural roles, I find that portraying a witch or a goddess or a demon, it doesn't matter what color your skin is.
I love it. I guess.
Yeah, so I found my niche in that. I'm not saying I can't take other roles, but it's like, I've learned that this is an area where I don't get any pushback, and I like playing those characters, so I have no problem with that.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. I always wanted to play Tinkerbell in Peter Pan.
Really?
Yep, since I was very little. There is a certain power to these voices, of the supernatural,
Yes,
but it isn't a large niche, I imagine.
it is not. But it is one I enjoy, so I will embrace it.
Good, good. Let me know if you ever end up playing Tinkerbell. I want to be there in person.
Well, I have played
Oh,
Tonya, Queen of the Fairies. So it's not a Tinkerbell fairy, but she's still the Queen of the Fairies, and I
yeah,
love playing her,
love it.
especially since she's my namesake.
Yeah, yeah, meant to be, as we say
Yes,
in Yiddish, Jewish language. B'sher,
yes.
fate. Yes. So, what do you think is the future here of people like yourself? Are we going to see wider choices for yourself in the future?
I think so. The world is becoming more and more blended anyway.
Yeah.
More people identify as brown, even if it's only partially. But the more mixed we are, the less prejudice we can be against each other. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness. So, what can we do to make this future come about sooner rather than later?
Well, be open to it. Don't feel like they're just because we're making room for someone else, it means that we're excluding room for you. We need bigger rooms. We don't need we don't need fewer people.
Indeed, indeed. What have you got coming up for yourself?
I am going to be teaching at the Atlanta Writers Conference in May, early May 5th and 6th, and I'm actually going to be teaching about diversity and inclusion. I'm doing a workshop for them. I'm going to be teaching how to read your book like a pro and how to become a good literary citizen.
Wonderful. You know that I'm actually in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
No,
I am. So if I can get down to Atlanta, I'll join you.
that would be lovely.
Atlanta has become an interesting hub, uh, considering
Yes.
that it once upon a time was just another southern city.
Right. And, I went my whole life without going to Atlanta. And last year I ended up filming there.
Ah,
So that was my first trip there. This year I attended for a literary award ceremony. And next year I'm going for a conference. It's like, how am I going 3 times in 3 years when I had never gone? And they're all unrelated, you know?
is that right? I love it. I love it. Well, the world changes, right? And
Yes.
it's going to be a good thing.
Yes.
Give more people the opportunity, right, that they hope for.
Yes. It was different than I expected too. I was a little fearful of going to Atlanta. You hear horror stories, and I feel like they are wonderfully open to diversity there. And the thing I was filming last year was actually a queer project. So, and it was a Black queer project. So it's like, man, are we going to be okay there? And yes, we were fine. We filmed in a church. It was awesome. you know?
Yes, this is what is happening here in the South as it becomes a hub for, especially Atlanta, for cinema and movies and
Yes.
all
Big
sorts.
things are happening there.
Yeah, and elsewhere. And I speak to the Tennessee Entertainment Commission. They have a real desire to look just like Atlanta.
That's,
So if
that's
you
great.
find yourself in the Chattanooga area, you let me know.
I will do that.
So before we wrap this up, tell me, where are you from originally?
I was born in Pennsylvania, but I grew up in Las Vegas
Oh, okay, that's
all
a
through schooling.
that's a an interesting place in itself.
It is. It's the entertainment capital of the world. But we have schools and churches and parks just like every place else.
Yeah.
We don't all live on the strip. You hear people ask, what casino do you live in? Don't live anywhere near a casino. I avoid the casinos. That's where all the traffic is.
I bet it is. I bet it is. I was only out in Las Vegas once. I was doing a session on diversity for
Mhm.
a conference, and we took the time to drive around and see Native American places.
Yes.
The desert, everything. It's
Right,
an
the
amazing.
desert and the mountains. It's really beautiful in places here.
So there's a great place to live, both to have a good life, but also to be exposed to the entertainment sector early on. What do you
Yes.
recall that influenced you to go into this particular business?
I always liked writing stories, so that part, just came naturally. I will admit that I didn't think it was possible for someone of color to be an author because there were so many years growing up that I didn't see that. I did not read any books written by anybody but white people because that's all that was available. So what that told me is you can write stories, but they'll never get published. So I just wrote them for myself. Then I had a dream that I started writing because it wouldn't leave me alone. Like I had kind of given up on that because I never pursued it. It's just something that I enjoy doing. And I started writing this story and writing this story, and it took on a life of its own. Like it was never, not even the original dream, it became something else. And after 200,000 words, I was like, I might need help with this. I might need a writing group to turn this into multiple books because that's too big for a book. And that's where they taught me how to, revise and shape it up and how to query. And that's kind of what led me into the whole diversity issue is, oh, I didn't know that this was going to be a thing I have to pay attention to. Because by then, yes, there had been lots of Black authors. It just, I had already decided years ago that that was not going to be a thing that I could do. And as a teen, I was a model. So I was kind of touching on the entertainment world.
Mhm. So
Then the book that I wrote happened to be about an actress. And I took theater in school too, because it's fun. I love I love taking on these characters and telling stories through them or with them. And it was just weird the way I created this book and this woman became an actress, but I had no desire, or I shouldn't say desire, but I didn't actively pursue this. It's not something I ever thought I was going to do. I had no plan to start acting. And then my boss laid me off saying, "I'm sorry, we just can't afford to have your position anymore. We're doing away with the entire position. But I feel terrible about this. I think you'd be a really good model and actress. Let me introduce you to my friend who can get you started in the business." And my boss knew nothing about my book.
Oh,
I was still, I hadn't tried to publish it yet. I was still writing it secretly because I didn't know what I was doing. And it just felt like it all manifested because of writing that story.
oh, I'm delighted to hear this. I'm a writer myself and a writing coach, and I tell people, write it down because it will transform you and transform your life.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
power to do this. So he said, "Well, I'm really too busy." And I said, "No, you're not."
You make time for the things that are important to you.
That's right. And you did, and look where you have come from it. And who knows where it will take you.
I have a long way to go, but I have come a long way. So it's all part of the journey, right?
So what would your advice be to a young person who is creative, artistic, given what you've experienced?
That you have to give it a try. You have to give it a real effort because you might find out that you don't even enjoy it. So why pine for this thing that you never give yourself a chance to try when you don't even know if you want to do it? So try it. There's no downside to this because if you don't do well, you find out it's not for you. That is a good thing. Then you can continue on to what is right for you. And I feel that all of these different arts, they inform our lives. I'm not a musician, but I really love music, and music informs my writing. You take in all of this art and you just express it in your own way. So I say, give it a chance, learn the craft, take it seriously, give yourself permission to fail because no one's going to be perfect at it the first time. And I need to remind myself of that advice. There are things that I want to write. It's like, oh, I don't think I could write it very well. Well, try. You won't write it well the first time. That's why you revise it. You cannot revise a blank page.
Absolutely. Well, audience, I hope you have heard this and are writing. Yes, indeed. So is there anything else you would like to add before we wrap up?
I guess I just want to say that if you feel like you're not sure what you can do to help with the cause of diversity and inclusion, if you feel like it's not your cause, but you want to be an ally to it, that the best thing that you could do is probably to just, not probably, definitely, the best thing that you can do is to listen. Listen with open ears, listen without thinking about how to convey that you understand. And when you notice an opportunity to express your allyship, do so without making it about yourself. Do it for the people that you're helping. And this is another area where you will make mistakes, but it's better to make the effort and make the mistake because you learn from those mistakes and you can do better next time. It's better to try and fail.
Yes, it is. And you indeed are a perfect example of that because
Thank you.
you have tried and succeeded and are going forward to even more success. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And we wish you all the best in Atlanta coming up when you teach there and further. And if you would stay on for a few minutes after we close down, I have another topic for you to think about. But audience, I hope you're paying really close attention here. Let us know in the comments on her page on the American Diversity Report. That's Tonya Todd. Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you.